about a heaven in Alberta, where they've got all hell for abasements. Yeah, I lost my way, but I hear tell about a heaven in Alberta, where they've got all hell for abasements.
Hi everyone. Frankie here, New West Reset. Hello, how's it going, eh? Welcome back. Thank you very much for shooting in, joining a fella here for another one. Another live stream, as a matter of fact. New West Reset Live, episode 83 here today on this Sunday, September the 15th, 2024. Just a smidgen, just a skosh, if you will. Past 5 p.m. local time. That's mountain time, don't you know? As always, we're coming at you live from right here in southern Alberta, down here in Calgary, Alberta, here in Purdy, Alberta, up in Canada land. So, yeah, beautiful day here today. Still not too shabby as we roll into the early evening. 17 degrees Celsius. That's sort of mid to high 60s Fahrenheit. Not bad, pretty good for, mid-September, at least around these here parts. Had rain a couple of days, so supposedly that helps with the forest fires and the wildfires. Didn't help much over in British Columbia, and didn't help much in the Midwest of the U.S., the good old U.S. of A., where there's flooding. I think in Europe, Central Europe, there's flooding going on. I don't know. It's a crazy, topsy-turvy world out there. Be careful out there, people. Be careful now. Anyway, thanks for joining me here for this episode of the show. We're going to be looking at Canadian Texas. Yeah, Canadian Texas. You ever heard of that? I'd never heard of it, and I'm a Canadian. Never heard of Canadian Texas in my life. I stumbled upon this by accident months ago, back in the summertime, in July, actually. Been keeping it in my pocket. I thought, what better time? As we roll from summer into autumn to kind of look at this. And I discovered this when I was researching our local rodeo here in Calgary. The world famous Calgary Exhibition and Stampede, the greatest outdoor show on earth. 10 days of rootin' tootin' cowboys and wild savage Injuns. Supposedly. Speaking of which, Old World Mi'kmaq is in the box. Kwe. Wilalin wile. Need up. Who else we got? Say hello, by the way, in the box, in the chat. Let me know how you're doing, where you're shooting in from. Scott's here, Scott Pike in the box. Phil Henry's here as well. Good day, Vaughn. From down under. Hippie Shake is here. Shooting in from Wales. Way over in Wales. Don't you know? Howdy, Kathy. Kathy Childers. Speaking of the good old US of A, from down there in the Bluegrass State, Curious Squirrel in the box. Just gonna lurk away. Good to have you. Thank you very much for shooting in. Holistic Media Thank you very much for being here, and thanks for helping out with sharing the link for the live streams as you often do. Really appreciate that. Title's here. Good to see you, Title. Hello. Jabberoo Joe in the box as well. Got my spurs that jingle jangle as I go riding merrily along. Yes. I get spurs that jingle jangle. Anyway, yes. Kimmy is here. Where are you? There you go. Hi, Kimmy. Hello. Welcome. And to all of you that are lurking, all of you that are in the box, hello, howdy, welcome. For those of you that are going to be watching this after the live, in the re-up, as the kids probably don't say anymore because they've already moved on. But anyway, thank you for your support as well. Really appreciate that, because these shows usually go a couple hours. So, you're watching the after the fact and you can't really interact with the live, and it's 2 hours, then wow, thank you. Robert's here. Robert Lavoie. Bonjour. Bienvenue. Also, a big thank you to everybody who's already subscribed, already shared. If you haven't already, consider giving a guy one of these. Just kind of helps to push me out there, as we make our way to 1,700 subscribers. Got a whole bunch of new folks that have come by in the last week or two. New friends of the channel. So welcome. Yeah, thank you very much for joining in on the shenanigans. We do the live show here every Sunday. We just like to kind of wind down the weekend here and have a little bit of fun on a Sunday fun day. So yeah, thanks for winding down your week and your weekend here with yours truly. So as mentioned, we're going to be looking at Canadian Texas here coming up rather shortly. Got to say hello to Jassy first. Jassy Mix, shooting in the box. Hello. Northeast of Edmonton. Well, there you go. A local feller. Another guy living in Purdy, Alberta. Well, howdy and welcome, neighbor. Good to see you. Good to meet you. They do. They really do, Curious Squirrel. So in Canadian Texas, do they wear 5-gallon toques? Oh, for sure there, eh, bud? You know it, buddy. You know it there, eh? I was just up in Edmond, Chuck, by the way. That's a local joke. But anyway, I was just up there. Yeah, I was up there for the day a week ago, last Thursday. Did a whirlwind tour of Edmonton there, kind of in and around the basically Jasper Avenue, the legislature grounds, and a little bit of the old warehouse district there. North side of the river, right? I didn't get a chance to really do the old Strathcona and all that, but definitely will be going back. So yeah, thanks for joining me. By the way, as mentioned, Canadian Texas, so links for everything we're going to be talking about down in the box. And speaking of links and locations, you'll find the link to my location map down in the box, in the description box below as well. That's the brainchild of Cousin Vinny, putting that thing together, and he keeps it updated. So very grateful to Cousin Vinny for all his hard work with that. Basically, you click on the link, takes you to Google Maps, and there's my icons are on every place that I've done the boots on the ground. You click on the icon and it opens up a little tab, gives you some info and the link to the video. So everything for Edmonton's already been updated. So there you go. Other links below, of course, my other socials. Again, something the kids probably don't say anymore. As well as the guy's email. And my PayPal. Because, you want to send a guy a couple of bucks, maybe I'll send you a t-shirt or something. Speaking of t-shirts, I got a t-shirt idea here. I want to run it past you real quick, fast, and in a hurry before we get the ball rolling, because I value your opinion. Otherwise, I wouldn't do these live streams. I would disable my comments on my uploads. For those of you that are new here, by the way, every Sunday we do the live show. Every Wednesday, I upload a video that's what I call vintage footage. It's usually, but not always, 80-20 rule on this. Canadian content, old-timey black and white footage set to music, usually Canadian bands. Then every Friday, I upload a boots on the ground video. So you get a little bit of everything here. You get a little sampling of this. It's like going to a smorgasbord. It's like going to a all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet, right? Ms. Grandma, howdy, howdy, welcome. Hello, hello, la, la, la. What's going on with Turtle? Fonz's cat almost died this morning. Holy smokes, that's not good. That's not good. Was chasing a bee and nearly fell 4 stories off the veranda. Oh, wow. God, watch out for them bees. You know what I'm saying? I mean, bees are vital. Without bees, we would all be pushing up daisies, if you catch my drift. So, yeah. It's, yeah. Well, if he's all right, though, that's dodged, the 9 lives thing, right? With the cats, which is kind of, you can almost see it sometimes, they get away with stuff that you're like, how did you survive that? You know what I'm saying? Anyway. Sorry, Turtle. Turtles, yeah, oh, man. That is not good. That's not good news. Yeah, we love our little furry little friends, don't we? Yeah. I used to have a cat. I named him Cooter. I named him after, the Dukes of Hazzard TV show. Their greasy cousin, Cooter, that ran the mechanic shop and drove the tow truck. Yeah, because when I found him, I rescued him. He was a stray, and he was all covered in grease and dirt. He looked awful. But I saw the potential in him because he was a sweet guy, and he was a Maine Coon breed of cat. So even though he'd been a stray living outside, he was rather hefty. And then once I got a hold of him and spoiled him, he got to be like 38 pounds or 39 pounds or something like that. Crazy. He was huge. And then he got sick and, yeah, so it's tough. It is tough. Rest in peace, Cooter. Martin is here. Hello, Martin. Good to see you. New friend of the channel. Speaking of new friends of the channel. Anyway, so let me run this past you here real quick. All right. Oh, for those of you, here, hang on. Gonna get some dead air. I'm unprepared, but hang on here. It's amateur hour on the show right now. All right, I'm back. Let's get settled back in here to the New West Reset Studios, which is basically some tin cans and wet string. Anyway, so get the t-shirt, the New West Reset t-shirt, right? Now, I don't have a merch store or any of that. Come on, I'm way too small of a channel for that kind of horse shit. These are gifts, right? I had a bunch of these t-shirts made, and I had them made as gifts for folks behind the scene that help out with the channel. like Cousin Vinny with the location map, or folks that make donations to the channel, or somebody like Hippie Shake, who's a mod and does a lot of work to share links and put the word out there and keep an eye in the chat and whatnot and so forth. You see what I'm saying? George, who sends me a lot of video or photograph files behind the scenes, so on and so forth. And we have a lot of fun joking around. And I think it was last week's show, we were joking around about t-shirt ideas, with some of my goofy sayings, some of the goofy expressions that I use here on the show and whatnot. So here's one of the ideas I had. Okay. For a t-shirt, like just right at smack dab in the middle of a t-shirt. So there it is. Shenanigans with a couple of horses. Oh, that's my other one. There we go. With a couple of horses pulling a streetcar trolley. There you go. So I thought that was pretty good. So thinking about getting some of those made as a New West Reset t-shirt, gift Mach 2 or version 2, 2.0. Anyway, there you go. Yeah, a lot of people are like that, and of course it depends on, the owner and the pet. Yeah, Cousin Vinny came up with a good one too. I survived the Great Calgary Fire. I'm actually, I think what I'm going to do, I like that idea for a t-shirt too. Anyway, yeah, a lot of people are, if you're an animal person, right, it's tough. That's not to say that people that are animal people aren't people persons also, but you know what I'm saying, right? So people just have special connections with animals, whether it's horses, dogs, cats, birds. Maybe you're a falconer. I don't know, right? Maybe you're a farmer. Maybe you're a rancher. Maybe you train donkeys. I have no idea, but you get what I'm saying. So yeah, it can be tough. Yeah, the I survived. What I'm going to do for that one is actually go down to Stephen Avenue downtown on 8th Avenue Southwest in Calgary, and actually take a photograph of the actual supposedly last surviving wood frame building from the Great Calgary Fire, the last one that's still standing that didn't get burned to down in 1886 in the 1480-ish, because it was 14 or 18-ish approximately buildings that got burnt down. So yeah, actually take a photo of the building, put that on a t-shirt with the I survived the Calgary Fire. I thought that'd be very good. And I like the idea of schmutz. So I think I'm going to get some hats made with schmutz on them. So there it is. So, okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. It's just a little fun thing to do. And it's, it's thing, for me, it's gifts. It's just my little way of thanking everybody for supporting the channel. So yeah. So there you go. Schmutz. That's right. Just walking around with a trucker hat on. It's a schmutz. And be like, what? What? My pal Bill is here. William Pals. Good to see you. Really, 3 kittens. Recently named them Bo, Luke, and Daisy. Of course, Daisy. Scott Pike in the box. Hello, hello. Anyway, links for everything below, including this Canadian Texas. It's a city, a small city named Canadian, and it's in Texas. And right off the bat, I'm going to say, don't mess with Texas. And I ain't messing with Texas. I love Texas. Said it a bazillion times that Alberta is kind of Canada's version of Texas. We're very much like Texans. We're kind of conservative. There's the whole oil thing. That black gold, Texas tea. We got the cattle ranching. We got the rodeos. We got the whole cowboy narrative, all that. We just don't have the ocean there. We don't have the Gulf of Mexico there off of the Texas, southeast Texas, and then the panhandle there. Just have the Rocky Mountains to the west is all, really. You just swap out ocean for Rocky Mountains, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, I ain't messing with Texas. I'm a big fan of Texas. Yeah, we don't have the heat. Well, we do, but only for about 2 weeks. It'll get to 39, 40 degrees Celsius here, which is, 115, 120 Fahrenheit. And that'll last a week or two. And then that is it. Shut it down after that. So, yeah, we're not dying in it for pretty much, 8 to 10 months out of the year. It's more the other way around, right? We get the snow and the cold for, 6, 7 months, 5, 6, 7 months, right? Anyway, enough griping about the weather. Typical Canadian. 17 of you watching. Once again, thank you very much for joining me here. Frankie, New West Reset, New West Reset Live, episode 83, Canadian Texas. And again, links for everything below. Thanks for joining me. Really appreciate you winding down your weekend here with yours truly on the Sunday Fun Day. And this is just kind of, like I said, just a thing, just a random thing that popped up. So I just kind of bookmarked just a couple of websites. I grabbed a few photos, and I thought maybe it would take the little blue guy and drop him down on the maps there on the goggle machine and kind of poke around Canadian Texas and, just have a little fun with it, right? And see where we could see.
You know what I mean? All right, we're having a good time.
Texas accent. Yes, yes. Well, my exes come from Texas, right? Well, that's the thing. Is it's the cowboy culture, right? So even today in modern day, and I'm not just talking for those 10 days in July for the Calgary Stampede Rodeo and all that stuff, but even today, modern Calgary, just like in modern Houston or modern San Antonio or modern Dallas, you see fellows walking around in a, 3-piece suit and tie, like they're ready for a business meeting, but they got a cowboy hat on and cowboy boots. Nice, shiny, polished, dressy cowboy boots, minus the poop and the mud. Get them shined it up real nice. And it's that whole cowboy culture, right? The country music's real big around here. Personally, I'm not a major fan of it, but, each to his own. Calgary's known as Nashville North when it comes to our country music scene. Calgary and area, right? You got like Paul Brandt is from around here. I went to primary school or elementary school with Paul Brandt, actually. He was a kid that lived out on an acreage and was bussed into the school that I went to as a kid. I was in grade 5, and I think he was in grade 3. But we got the Katie Lang and all them, right? So anyway, we're going to poke around at that. Once again, thanks for joining me here. What do you say we start with? And of course, as per usual, midway through the show here, we'll take a bit of a break and give you a sneak peek at your upcoming midweek, your Wednesday vintage footage. Could you imagine that? What a nightmare. And talk about sore legs, from being dropped from that height, being dropped hundreds of feet down onto the pavement or into these far-flung, obscure reaches of the world. Drop the little guy like on some, I don't know, craggly, rocky shore in the North Atlantic, the shores of the North Atlantic Ocean on Newfoundland or something, or the shores of Ireland where he's freezing his bippy off. You know what I'm saying? Terry Clark, there you go, Terry Clark, and yes, and Métis. Anyway, let's have a look at what Wikipedia says here about this Canadian Texas. Just to get the official what's it, who's it. Now, I've kind of myself skimmed over this and perused over some of the stuff already, but I didn't do too deep of a thing because I kind of wanted us to kind of discover what the heck's going on here together. Because again, being a Canadian, right? Never heard of Canadian Texas. How I found it was I was Googling images of Canadian cowboys. I wanted some nice, as old as I could, as high res as I could find, pictures of Canadian cowboys back when I was doing my Calgary Stampede live show. And I kept getting images, and when I'd click on them, they were from this Canadian Texas. So you could see how frustrating that was for me. Because again, Texas got that whole culture, that whole narrative of the rootin' tootin' cowboys, right? And the cattle drives and all that stuff. Anyway, here we go. Canadian Texas. Canadian is a city and the county seat of Hemphill County, Texas, in the United States. Population was just over 2,300 people at the 2020 census, down from 2,650 in 2010. Is named for the nearby Canadian River, a tributary of the Arkansas River. Okay, now I've heard of the Arkansas River, duh, but I'd never heard of the Canadian River even. But, that's quite the large gorge. Looks a little dry there, but, incorporated in 1908, so a little bit of a latecomer. Canadian is sometimes called the oasis of the high plains. Oh, really? Okay. Canadian is on the eastern side of the Texas Panhandle, close to the border with Oklahoma. In 1887, the city government began. Portion of the Tom Hanks movie Castaway was filmed in Canadian. Okay, great. Whatever, big deal. It's the northwest center of Hemphill County, and the town itself is a mile from the river. Okay. Climate. Semi-cool arid conditions, humid subtropical climate. It gets hot. Sure. Census, yada, yada. So not really that much. Again, links below. You can see 1910, 1,600 people. Today, 4 years ago, 2,300 and change. So not a big city at all. But it is, in fact, a city, an incorporated city. Look at this Canadian River here. It's the longest tributary of the Arkansas River. See? Seems important. Again, I never heard of that. DN is in the box. Thanks for shooting in. Howdy, howdy. It's over 1,000 miles long. Starts in Colorado. Travels through New Mexico, Texas Panhandle, and Oklahoma. Drainage area is about 47,700 square miles. Okay, sure. The Canadian is sometimes referred to as the South Canadian River to differentiate it from the North Canadian River that flows into it. So there's 2 Canadian rivers, and I've never heard of them. And a town called Canadian in Texas, a city. On John C. Fremont's route map of 1845, the river's name is listed as Gulapa, or Canadian River, from the Comanche and Kiowa name for the river, Kiowa Gulvau, Red River. In 1929, Muriel H. Wright wrote that the Canadian River was named about 1820 by French traders who noted another group of traders from Canada land, Canadien in French, had camped on the river near its confluence with the Arkansas River. So, okay, how did it get its name? Because some Canadians were camped there, Canadian fur trappers were camped by the river, and they saw that, hey, there's some more Canadians over there that are camped. This must be the Canadian River, ha ha. Or is it come from the Comanche and Kiowa word for the river? Yes. According to the Encyclopedia of Oklahoma History and Culture, Spanish explorers in the 17th and 18th centuries called it the Rio Buenaventura and the Magdalena. The upper part was called Rio Colorado by the Spanish. So it's had umpteen different names already. More recent explanations come from William Barry, who wrote that the name is probably derived from Rio Canada. There's a 6th or 7th name now. Canadiano, a Spanish spelling of the Cado word. Oh, see, man, oh man, let's muddy the water some more. I can't even pronounce this stuff, man. Kayantinu, which was the Cado people's name for the Red River. Man, oh man, oh man. All right, here we go. The first European explorer to explore was Juan de Ona, the Spanish governor of New Mexico. Followed the river from its origin to the northwest. From its origin to the northwest plains of what is now Oklahoma in 1601. Spanish traders and hunters worked the area, yada yada. Indigenous peoples, of course. So on and so forth. All right. So there you have it. Link in the description. Don't want to get too academic with the what they're trying to tell us here. I mean, it just starts getting so convoluted with the half a dozen or 6 or so names that they've given this place already. You want to look into the history of this thing, man, oh man. Anyway, links for that song and dance in the description. Now, this came up as a website that I found because there was a lot of the photos. I was like, oh, here's some Canadian cowboys. Nope, those are cowboys from Canadian. Doesn't make any sense, right? I don't know. I just, you can only just shake your head.
That doesn't make sense.
Anyway. Yeah, a lot of the photos that I was finding, I was like, oh, there's a Canadian cowboy. And then it turns out, nope, it's a cowboy from Canadian Texas. It was from this website. So I figured we'd have a look at this real quick. This is CanadianTexas.com/history. It is right there. So the history of Canadian Texas. See, I like this photograph, which I did end up grabbing. So we'll be able to zoom in on it in a bit here. And I think this one too, but anyways. In Canadian and Hemphill County, we take pride in actively preserving and telling stories of our rich history and heritage. From prehistoric cave and cliff-type dwellings in the Blue Hills north of Canadian, generations of nomadic Kiowa, Comanche, Cherokee, and Apache tribes followed the buffalo and made their winter homes on the Washita. By the mid-1800s, buffalo hunters and early adventurers from forts and settlements ventured north and west and began exploring present-day Hemphill County. From the historical and cultural changing Red River War of 1874 to 1875, not to be confused with the Red River Rebellion up here in Canada land around that same time, the wild and woolly open range period erupted, and the rough and rich land between the Canadian and Washita rivers provided welcome and shelter to all. Of course, once you chase out the indigenous peoples. Anyway, Hemphill County hosted the Buffalo Soldiers, mysterious outlaw types, see, tooting cowboys, cattle drives, and those following the military or gold rush trails, of course. Got to have that gold rush narrative too, right? Otherwise, why would you be in scrub brush, bare ass, bald ass, middle of nowhere, Texas, in this place? Again, no offense. You get the confluence of the river, sure, but For years, Canadian boasted more saloons than churches. So, rootin' tootin' Wild West again. More cowboys and adventurers than families. No wonder there's only 2,000 people there. That all changed with the introduction of the railroad, and barbed wire, along with the ladies of the Women's Christian Temperance Union. Of course, got to curb that whiskey consumption. Canadian gradually evolved into a noteworthy home of ranchers and entrepreneurs, a place where cattle breeds were developed and cattle and land deals were made. In other words, roll in the cattle and land barons. In 1888, the world's first public rodeo was held, along with the first selling of city lots and blocks as part of Canadians' first official 3-day 4th of July celebration. Let me read that again. In 1888, the world's first public rodeo was held. Wouldn't you think that the home of the world's first public rodeo would be more famous? Again, we have a world famous rodeo here in Calgary, here in Purdy, Alberta, in Canada. But I'd never heard of Canadian Texas that supposedly had the world's first rodeo. You'd think there'd be a little bit of, cultural overlap and sharing of this knowledge and history. But anyways, along with the first selling of the city's, so they had their first rodeo to celebrate the 4th of July. And it just happened to be the world's first public rodeo. I don't know how they know that or whatever determined that. But anyway, PCS World is here. Howdy, howdy. Welcome. Phil Henry's here as well. Thanks for shooting in the box, Phil. Good to see you. So I just find that fascinating. I get it. Big 4th of July celebration. Why wouldn't you? Totally makes sense. Especially in this early time period, right? 1870s. Pretty fresh. 100-year celebration. Give or take, right? 1776, 1888. Close enough, right? So they decide to have some kind of hootenanny. So what do? A public rodeo, first ever. Who came up with the idea? How was it organized? How did they bring in cattle and horses from all nearby ranches? How were the ranchers compensated for their cattle and horses? Who competed and where did they come from and how'd they get there? Nothing. Bubkiss. And then they decided to, I guess they already had it surveyed because they are already selling city lots and blocks. You could come into town, see the rodeo, and buy yourself a whole city block right there in Canadian Texas, right at the confluence of the South Canadian River and the Oklahoma River. Over 130 years later, Canadian is still the home of ranchers, dreamers, and entrepreneurs. All 2,000 and change. It's also one of the last places on earth where you can visit historic working family ranches and expect to see real cowboys pull up in their pickups with horses in the trailer wherever you stop for dinner. You can read all about this exciting history on the website. I expect that that's pretty much any small rural town in Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Colorado, maybe even parts of Missouri, South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, Utah. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're going to have ranchers come into town for dinner. They might be pulling a trailer that have some horses or cattle in them. They're working hard all day. It's like, you know what? I don't have time to go back to the house. Wife and I prepare dinner, sit down, eat dinner, and get back to doing what I'm doing. Let's just stop in at the White Spot or the all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet, get something, and get back to it. Heck, I've seen that in real life. So, you know, Nance is here. Nance Hardwick in the box. Never heard of it. Yeah. Well, if you're a Texan and you're close by this place, let a guy know. And if you're a local, man, oh man, let us know in the box, please. Yeah, I'd never heard of this. But yeah, certainly interesting little place. I think I had one more link here, I think. Let me just again, links below for everything. Oh yes, this is sort of what is this? This is online PDF file or some kind of file. It's some kind of blog or something. TexasEscapes.com. And this is /towns/Canadian Texas. This one's a little dodgy. When you click on it, it says, hey, buddy. Hold on a second there, eh? You sure you want to go to this website there, bud? Then you got to make sure that all your, antivirus stuff is, fully charged and all the hamsters are running at full tilt and whatnot. But anyways, Canadian Texas, there it is again, Oasis of the Panhandle. Why? I guess because it's at the confluence of the South Canadian River and the, what was that other river again? The Oklahoma River? The Arkansas River? I don't remember now. Anyway, see how discombobulated and confused I am already? Geez, it even gives you the coordinates and all this on here. Wow. You can get a hotel. So there is your typical small town America, Main Street, little downtown with the, 2-3 story old brick buildings on some weirdo slanted, what appears to be mud flooded street. Again, we'll have a closer look at this second half of the show, but history in a pecan or pecan, if you will, shell. Oh, ain't that cute. In early 1887, I thought it was 1888, but anyway, E.P. Purcell and O.H. Nelson laid out a 240-acre town site for the soon-to-arrive Southern Kansas Railway. So they knew the railway was going to be coming here, and it was more than likely going to stop here because you could take on water in either of the two rivers. The site, which was on the south bank of the Canadian River, connected to the community of Hogtown near Clear Creek by a bridge. Oh, so earlier that summer, there's a bridge. Okay. So another reason for the railroad to stop. See, it's all the muds are starting to clear now. Residents and businesses crossed from Hogtown to be near the rails. So in other words, Hogtown probably died. Poor Hogtown. Maybe come up with a better name and do some public relations. You could hire Edward Bernays. Oh, no, he's not born yet. Oh, no, he is, but he's not practicing yet. Anyway, a post office was granted in August of 1887. So it's moving right along from early 1887, which is rather vague, to all of a sudden now in August, now you get your post office. Okay. And the town's first hotel. What? The first two things they get is a post office and a hotel. They've just laid out, and it's not yet arrived. They've just laid out the town, and the railway hasn't even arrived yet. They've just built a bridge, but you got to get that hotel in there. Whenever I see that hotel is one of the first buildings to go up in one of these small town hick towns, again, no offense. I grew up in a small hick town before I moved to the big city of Calgary, which in itself is kind of a big town with a hick town feel. But what I'm saying is that whenever I see a hotel go up in a town of 2,000 people in the middle of nowhere, whether it's Texas or Saskatchewan up here in Canadanedia or anywhere, some little hamlet in England, someplace down under there, I scratch my head and I go, I don't think that's a hotel. I don't think they built a 3-story brick hotel for this little town that basically is nobody's living in yet for all intents and purposes. I think that building was already there. Some kind of cataclysm or catastrophe, local or regional or fairly widespread, destroyed a lot of these little cities, towns, settlements, maybe part of networks of larger cities. And this was their little reset. We'll set up a post office and sort of a home base. We'll call it a hotel. It's just been redesignated. There's some old building that they were able to fix up. You know, maybe the Masons came in there or somebody. Anyways, the Canadian hosted the first annual Cowboys Region Rodeo, one of the first commercial rodeos in Texas. By 1900, the town was thriving due to its being a division point for the railroad, I'm guessing. The town soon had cotton gins, grain elevators, and even a private academy. Got to go to private school if you're a cattle rancher's kid, I guess. As well as the usual businesses necessary to a vibrant town. It was estimated the town once had as many as 13 saloons, all for 2,000 people. Yeah, Edward Joe says they should have renamed Hogtown Toronto. Oh, wait, they already did that. Yeah, that was Toronto's nickname, was Hogtown, right? Every town's got to have its nickname. The Big Apple, Beantown, Hogtown, Cowtown, right? The Women's Christian Temperance Union set up their own building, which also houses the city library. Handbook of Texas acknowledges the names of early business pioneers as George and John J. Gerlach, Harvey E. Hoover, Edward H. Brainerd, and Nahim Ibrahim, who emigrated from Lebanon. Mr. Ibrahim descendant is the man responsible for the renovation of Canadian's beautiful Palace Theatre. Yeah, beautiful. They do have one. Sam Houston's youngest and most flamboyant son once lived in Canadian before settling in what is now Oklahoma. The railroad, which had long since been absorbed by the Santa Fe Railroad, closed the roundhouse in the 50s. This might have been the death blow to a lesser town, but Canadians survived. From the 1950 population of 2,600, it grew to nearly 3,500 by 1980. Yeah, I was able to snag some of these photos too, the old roundhouse, the train station, and so on. The depot. Anyway, let's see what we've got here. The county jail, built in 1890. The first permanent public building in both town of Canadian and Hemphill County, erected under administration of E.E. Pauley. First county judge. Ironically, deception plagued construction of this jail, as building contracts were found to be fraudulent and citizens took legal action all the way to the Texas Supreme Court in 1889. Great. Shenanigans with the money goofiness, building the jail. Could be. Vaughn says, I'm guessing there's a massive asylum not too far out of town, eh? Yeah. Chugtown. Because it's thirsty. They're thirsty over there, yeah. Oh, man. See what else is going on here. In the mid-1920s, jail held outlaws from the notorious oil boom of Borger, 65 miles south. Okay, never heard of that. But anyway, it's a nice little old church. It's the nice brick city block. Palace Theatre. Stack it of brick like crazy. All these little towns. It's like we got to compensate for the fact that our building's only 1 or 2 or 3 stories. So we're gonna overstack all these bricks just to show off just to compensate for it. It's a nice theater. Steakhouse used to be, I don't know what. I can't remember. Oh, dinosaurs, of course, just like Alberti. You got your dead dinosaurs. That's how you get all the oil out of the ground, you see. It's from the dead dinosaurs. Massive grain elevators, the old rail bridge. Yeah. There it is. Former site of Hogtown. It did die. Called it. Forerunner of town of Canadian. Sprang up in 1886 as tent city for a railroad gang working on southern Kansas line, named for poor appearance, like a hog pen. Get out of here. Get out of here. After landowner Sam Pollard and railroad disputed price for land, line moved across river, taking populace with it in 1909.
I don't believe you.
So there you have it. It's right there. So there's a bunch of other stuff here you can look at. Historic trails, cowboy trails, a couple of notable people. And there's where we're looking at. Hemphill County. So again, links in oh, wow. Get that out of here. Big advertisement. So again, links in the description below for all of that, their shenanigans. Yeah, exactly. Well, it didn't come from dinosaurs. It came from dead dinosaurs. Don't you see? They go in the ground, and the ground squishes them. And then the black goo, not to be confused with the black goo from Prometheus and the other really bad attempts at offshoots of the really good first two Alien movies. The black goo that you can make plastic and gasoline out of. And exactly it, right? But we're told it's just cowboys there and stuff, right? Again, I found this because I was Googling Canadian cowboys, and this town called Canadian in Texas popped up with all these old pictures from the early 1900s, 1909 and prior, with cowboys, ranchers, but from Canadian Texas. So at the same time, they're telling us rootin' tootin' cowboys in this Wild West town. More saloons than churches, remember. I agree, by the way, Kathy. I agree. But meanwhile, in the background, we see all these big buildings. And again, some bigger than others. It depends on the size of the town, right? I get it. A town that was never more than 3,000 or 3,500 people isn't going to have a Chrysler building sized building there, right? It's not going to have the Cathedral Notre Dame type of stuff, but it's still going to have some head scratchers, because some of the buildings we're going to look at here in the second half of the show, you're going to be like, well, wait a second. I thought they didn't get more than like a couple thousand people until the 1950s. You tell me this stuff was built in the 1890s and early 1900s when there was only a handful of people there. And again, supposedly all ranchers and farmers and some that worked for the railroad. So which are they? Are they bricklayers and construction workers? Or are they too busy tending to their massive herds of cattle or farming crops on their massive amounts of land, right? Oh, I'm sure there's plenty of happy trails, eh? We'll definitely get into some happy trails. For sure, eh? Don't you worry about that. That'll be coming up the second half of the show. I'm off to Chugtown, says Ms. Grandma. Nance Hardwick in the box hollering out, yikes, 284 miles from Dallas. About a 5-hour drive. Anyone want to go with? That'd be a hell of a fun road trip, though. Put some good tunes in your stereo. pack some extra water. Make sure you check your oil, tire pressure, and all that there stuff, all the juices under the hood of your car and or truck and or SUV and or station wagon and or motorcycle. And make a road trip out of it. Pack some snacks. Emergency road kit, and off you go. You know what I'm saying? Well, Texas is pretty big, right? Let's face it, Texas is big. That's the other thing, too. Alberta and Texas are almost the same size in terms of square miles, or square kilometers, or kilometers. The black goo is probably mitochondria. The black goo in the movies. Ah, yes. Question asked, question answered. Speaking of tunes, that's a great segue. We're about midway through the show. Again, thank you very much for joining me here and winding down your... If you haven't already, give a guy one of these. Thank you to everybody who's already subscribed and shared. It helps push me out there, right? I'm just a little fella, so, every little bit helps. So thank you. I appreciate all of your support. And again, to those of you that are tuning in after the fact, thank you very much for shooting in and watching and exploring this goofiness in Canadian Texas together. Old World, Michigan, slipping in the box. How you doing? Hello, howdy. So yeah, let's give you a sneak peek at your midweek here. What do you say? As a reminder, if you're new here, every Wednesday, you get vintage footage video. The older, the better, of film footage, old-timey film footage, maybe old home movies, whatever I can grab, whatever I can borrow from the interwebs there, and share with you. I try to set it to music, try to keep it Canadian content. That's the case with this one, with the music anyways. Local Calgary band. This is auto racing from 1902 to around 1910. This is the Le Mans in France. It's about 4.5 minutes long. And it's a banger. This one's a corker. So smoke them if you got them. And if you got a set of, ear goggles, throw them on too. And we'll see you back here in 4.5. All right, everybody. Cheers. All right, and we are back. Welcome back, everybody. Hello, hello. Frankie here, New West Reset, New West Reset Live, episode 83. We're looking at Canadian Texas, eh? Canadian Texas, huh? No, Canadian Texas, eh? That would be a terrible argument. Anyway, thank you very much for shooting in, joining a fella here for another live one. Really appreciate it as always. If you haven't already, do one of these. If you have already, thank you. Appreciate your support. And again, as a reminder, links below for everything that we have looked at here so far in the show, as well as how you can get a hold of a guy. My other platforms, which the HooTubes hates that I mention. So you got to speak in code. You know, like the green platform where there's fighting. It rhymes with stumble. Anyway. Broadcasting live over there simultaneously. So welcome everybody over there. Great to see you. What'd you think of that little video? By the way, do you like that? Kathy Childers says, I used to drive a Lotus. Wow. Huh. Look at that. Did you have a lead foot like that? Did you like to drift around them curves? Because I bet you didn't drive on a dirt racetrack. Well, it's not even a racetrack. It's a track through towns and rural areas in Le Mans. My pal Bill, William Powell, says groovy. Jabber Joe says, I used to hate motor racing, not anymore. Yeehaw! Well, yeah. Morgan is here. Howdy, howdy, Morgan. Isabella Live 2.0. You just unlocked the door with that song. Taking a download. Yeah, there you go. That was a song called Ariel versus Lotus by a band called Limb Lifter. Limb Lifter. I think they're now a defunct, disbanded band, but they were local, pretty sure from here in Calgary. So yeah, look for that to be coming up for your midweek vintage footage on Wednesday, eh? All right, let's look at some, it's not a huge file, just a few pictures, because there's actually, as much as my grumblings about when I was trying to research one thing, and Canadian Texas kept popping up, there's actually, after that grumblings and all that said, there's actually not tons. I've got about half a dozen here in this folder. Maybe, no, a few more than that. 10 to a dozen. Sure, that sounds accurate. And then we'll drop the guy down on the goggle machine and see what we can see with that. So this bridge, it was wooden bridge here, and then iron, it looks like back here, but it says here, rise in Canadian River, September 8th, 1909, Canadian Texas. But they're just sitting on the banks, even though you got this rapids and choppy. But yeah, we're just sitting here, just watching trains roll by, I guess. Seems like this may be for a postcard or something. There's some of your grain elevators. Identical to grain elevators in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, here in Canada land. I'm sure you've seen these in various parts of the U.S. as well, especially in the Midwest, right? Oh, there's some choo-choo action for Frankie. This is just as it's pulling into the main roundhouse out of the, it's basically pushing cars around in and out of the roundhouse. Speaking of houses, this is not the roundhouse. This is the Santa Fe Eating House. Yeah, you just go to here to eat. This big, beautiful structure with all this extra inlay work. again, the little town, but they're going to put in all this extra work just for, I don't know, a restaurant or I don't know what it is, eating house. Oh, thank you, Morgan. Well, and you know why that is? Because once you monetize your channel, and I found this out because I was monetized for a little bit, a couple of weeks, but then the YouTube's really scrutinizes your content and stuff that they don't find as advertiser friendly. You know what I mean? Then they block it. They want you to remove it. They remove it, and I'm like, no, I am not playing around with that nonsense. So here's the size of the school you need for a couple of thousand people back in the day. Again, you need these big, columns or pillars and this big grand entrance. At least your kids don't have to go up 11.4 million stairs to get in the main door. I guess they don't have to worry about slipping on the icy stairs like we do around here. So there's the narrative they want to give you, right? Is we got this here little town, and it's just a dusty little small Texas town. It comes from the wild rootin' tootin' gold rush days, and when there was more saloons than churches and whatnot. So you got a couple of these peaked roof buildings with the false front on them, and probably wooden frame structures. Yeah, okay. Here's a garage that might be brick or stone, but then you got this big, massive hotel here. And the street is dirt, so much so that there's grass growing on the side of the road. Not sure what's going on here, but anyway, big fancy lights and beautiful tree-lined streets. They got electric at this point, but they still got this shitty street. Even in the time of jalopies already. It's not horse and buggy so much now, but they still have crappy streets. So when you first look at it, you go, okay, dirt roads, these little buildings. Yep, little Wild West Texas town. But then, whoa, hold on there, partner. Whoa, partner. Whoa, partner. What the heck is going on here, partner? Right? It's funny how these photographers seem to have been gifted. This is looking at it from the complete opposite side now. At the top of the hill here, looking down now. These photographers are able to leave so much out of these photographs by just the perspective. I'll just shoot this one street. It's Main Street. Well, yeah, it might be Main Street, but it might not be the best street to reveal. Maybe the Cross Avenue has got more of these, and they don't want to show them necessarily. Again, I'm just spitballing and speculating, but it gives you a better shot of these buildings, how huge they are, and the infrastructure and the support system underneath that would be needed. Again, not sure what's going on here. But I mean, this street is just one big giant slope. So potentially, do some of these buildings go down further? Well, I think maybe. So this is, and we saw this photo in the previous website, the first half of the show, but this would come up for, Canadian Cowboys for my Calgary Stampede live stream. And then I'd realize, oh no, this is from a town called Canadian in Texas. So I don't want to use this photo because they're not actually Canadians in terms of nationality. So you think, okay, but I mean, there you go, rootin' tootin' Cowboys, right? You got, grass in the background. You got some wood frame structure here, big trees. You got a dirt trail or road. But then you look in the back and you're like, well, wait a second, what's this? Right? This ain't no little house in the prairie. And then again, you notice how high up the ground is here at the front of the building. But down the side where these two kids are up to no good, slopes down and reveals more of this brick. And again, where's all this brick coming from? What's all this crap? What's this, a brick? What's all this crap here? Again, it seems like something happened and some fellows rolled in and gave it a reset and said, yeah, we built this here town, and because it's on the confluence of these two rivers. And wow, once a railroad came in, boy, howdy. I tell you what. Boy, I'll tell you what. Town started just booming. You got to build your county courthouse like this in this little town. 2,500 people. So pretty, we're going to put it on a postcard. Yeah. William Powell says, just left the diner, head back out to round up some more cattle. You see, you just you got these big, huge buildings, but still you got the Wild West cowboys. It's not what we're shown in the Clint Eastwood movies. You know what I mean? Here it is again, rise in Canadian River, September 8th, 09. So all these people are gathered around to dangerously stand next to the rising river to get their photo taken in their Sunday best. These are probably the same ladies. Now we got some fellers and some kid. What's he got here? Is he toting a rifle or is that a walking stick? I don't know. This guy doesn't look like he's wearing his Sunday best. That's your town hobo. That's Bottle Bill, bottle picker, turning them in for the 5 cents. So here's your roundhouse. Now, supposedly this is a construction video of the railroad roundhouse. So again, your train would come in, it gets onto this platform, and this is turned, and then it can be stored in one of these big arched bay doors here. And each one has a bay where they can do maintenance. They could do whatever. Put them to bed at night, you know what I'm saying? But this just looks like a chaotic mess. And again, sorry that it's kind of pickleated, but just crap. What is that, a cannon? Is that a cannon? I don't know what that is. We've got a couple of cannons we dug up out of the dirt and mud here. We'll set them aside. Like, I don't know what's going on, but it's labeled a construction video for the railroad roundhouse in Canadian Texas. So a jolly day in Canadian, a great day for a parade. They only seem to like to take the shot either down Main Street or up Main Street. But again, in the background, you just see that glorious train station. Another big giant, I don't know what that is there. Then in the back here, something. Get out of the road, dog. You're going to get hurt now. This might be a 4th of July parade or something. Definitely see a parade. Oh, what the heck is this? Home on the range where the deer and antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Stupid beaver made a wrong turn at Lake Superior. What is this? The Canadian River Wagon Bridge. Got to put a couple of giant boulders in front of it because, you get a couple of beers and them crazy Texans, and they're going to try to drive their Ford F-350 dually pickup truck across this bridge, I guess. A couple of Budweisers and some good old boys. They're going to try and drive their truck across there. You can bet good money. Better put some giant boulders there. On the top half of the show, they did talk about Indigenous peoples following the herds of the migratory buffalo around this here area. So I wonder if these are buffalo rubbing stones, maybe. I don't know.
When you get an itch, then you do the twitch in bedrock. Twitch, twitch.
Anyway, this is sent courtesy of Jabberoo Joe, a resident, slightly unhinged artist extraordinaire. So that's what I got for photographs, really. Like I said, not a lot. Mostly, you know, about a half dozen or so more than what you find on those the websites that we looked at, you know, top half of the show. And again, links below, down in there for all that. Train going by. Can you hear it? Can you hear the train? It's still lovely out. Still 16 degrees Celsius. Sort of low to mid 60s Fahrenheit. So got the window open, so you know. Well, yes, right? Hindsight being 2020, of course, right? Hippie says, Ms. Grandma, I wish I had asked my grandparents more questions when they were alive. Yes, indeed. Ms. Grandma is saying, talk to elders and get their stories. My dad told his mom had to little shack over the hole they dug as there was a cold storage. Yeah, okay, yeah. My grandmother tied a rope around her waist and pulled the house? What? Yeah, you gotta, you know, I'm sort of lucky with that. I remember talking to both my granddaddies, my maternal and paternal granddaddy. I was especially close to my paternal granddaddy, but I also remember talking to my great granddaddy. He lived until I was, I think, 4 or 5 years old. But as a kid, I was just a weird kid. Yeah, I'd go outside and play with my cousins when we'd all get together on my grandparents' little farm to visit, you know, help out with stuff that needed to be done around there as my grandparents got on in years, right? Aunties and uncles would all stop in on the same day, Saturday or a Sunday, and help out with stuff. This is long after it was even a working farm anymore. They just had a garden, and Granddad converted the old barn into basically a tool shed and a garage, and that was it. But even as a kid, yeah, I'd play with my cousins outside and goof around in the woods, building forts, trying to catch bullfrogs in the creek back there and stuff. But after a while, I get tired of that shenanigans, and I would come back up the hill, go into the old farmhouse, and just sit with the old timers, you know, the grown-ups, and just kind of sit there. And oh, no worries. And plus, you know, it's hard to typing is not the best when there's spell check and auto texting and all that stuff. Yeah, totally get you. Harsh winters. Yeah, born at home. Yeah. My two oldest uncles were born at home, like in the house. Like the doctor came to the house and there was a midwife. Yeah. By the time my daddy came around, though, it was call an ambulance and take you into town. But anyway. Yeah, talking to the old folks. But there's things now, again, even with me, you know, kind of that same sort of remorse or regret, or not even regret, just again, wishing that I talked, because I kind of, now with eyes being more opened, I wish that my grandfather, most especially my paternal grandfather, was still around, because he was a farmer, and then in the off season he worked in a brickyard. It was a brick factory making the bricks, right? He called it the brickyard, but he worked at a brick factory. He stacked the bricks after they came out of the kiln and they were getting ready to go on to the trucks or trains. But he also worked for the railroad for a bit, and his daddy, my great-granddaddy, worked for the railroad, and a couple of my great-uncles worked for the railroad. So, yeah, to pick his brain or bend his ear about, you know, talk about old railroad, old brick factories, and just how things were on the old farm would have been very interesting. because Ms. Grandma talks about cold storage, and yeah, they had cold storage. It was basically like a mound of dirt with a hole cut in it. It's kind of like a cave. And behind the farmhouse, kind of in a shaded, wooded area. And what they do is they'd line it with straw or hay or whatever. Straw, I think. And then they cut giant blocks of ice out of the river in the winter, and they'd stuff them in there. And that would last until July, sometimes August, before it was completely melted. And that was their cold storage. Even my dad, he tells stories about doing his homework at the dinner table in at the old farmhouse, and they hadn't run electricity to the farmhouse yet. Their driveway was about a mile long from the main road, which had the electric power lines, right? And back then you had to pay to run power to your house. And my granddaddy was like, I ain't paying for a mile worth of that. Turns out about 5 years later or something, the electric company ended up doing it for free anyways, but so there you go. But yeah, he used to have to do it by lantern because they didn't have electricity. And they had a privy out back. They didn't have indoor plumbing. And that's not that long ago. That's, the late 50s, mid to late 50s. So yeah, being able to sit down and talk to the old timers sometimes would be pretty interesting, Or again, like I said, play the time machine game where you think, if there was such a thing as a time machine, as we see it in, like Back to the Future or whatever, or, Time Cop. You could travel back and forth. If you could go back and just kind of be a fly on the wall and peekaboo what's going on in the 1840s, 1850s, and so on and so forth. But of course, with that not being possible, sit down and talk to the old timers. Not many left that were around, pre, if they live in a rural area and they didn't get it, electric out there until the 50s or 60s or the 40s, just after the WW2 or something. Yvonne says, mine's still chugging, born in 1930. Ah, yeah, see, my granddaddy was born in 1919. My great-granddaddy was born in 1890 something, late 1890s. My granddaddy lived to be 96, and my great-granddaddy lived to be 90 something as well, 98, or maybe vice versa. In or out, both late 90s. Heck, even my great-grandma, she lived into her, I think, her mid-90s. So yeah, if you know somebody that's in their, they're an octarian, right? They're in their 80s or even in their 90s. A grandparent, a great-grandparent, a great-uncle, or a great-auntie or something. Yeah, sit down and talk to them. I'm sure they'd love to share their stories anyways. You know how it is, right? Sometimes the old folks, they like to share their stories, you see. Anyways, let's see what we're going to be looking at here. Let's drop the guy down and see what we're going to be looking at here with Calgary. Or sorry, Canadian Texas on the goggle machine here. It's why is it not coming up? I thought I had it pinned. Oh, there it is. All right, here we go. Just get that going for you. All right, so hopefully you can see and hear that. Hear me okay? See that okay? Hear me okay? There we go. Canadian, Texas, USA. Let's see where we're at here. So I guess Amarillo, but it's kind of, halfway between Amarillo and Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, really. Really north of Lubbock. Yeah, so just kind of right in there. Real close to Oklahoma, actually. So what they say, the South Canadian River, and what was the other river? I don't even remember. Anyway. Vaughn says, let's go, Frankie. Let's find where they use the fascies for the mud flood. Miss Grandma, you had 90s. They ate better food. My dad told me they drank out of the pond. They used cheesecloth to get pond bugs out. Yeah, well, on my grandparents' farm where my dad and aunties and uncles grew up and all that, they had a well, right? And that was just like pure, natural, super healthy water. So you can see there's some interesting topography around here, that's for sure. There's a little bit of high land area here. And looks like here as well. So it's kind of nestled in between that. And then obviously where you have the river, you have some lowlands and river valleys. So perhaps some shenanigans going on here with some land displacement, some land movement, some floodage of muddage. Anyway, let's drop the guy down. I kind of had a quick little peekaboo around here. So I kind of know where to start. We're going to start right here at this Bartlett's Distribution Center, which is not, I guess that label hasn't been updated or the photo hasn't, because it looks to me like it's a railroad museum. You got Santa Fe there, so looks like a museum or something. It's some kind of official building because you got the Stars and Stripes and then the Lone Star, Texas there. But you notice right away, a lot of those shots were taken from this view looking up Main Street, which is now West Main Street. But all the brick, like it's the entire street going all the way up is brick. The whole dang thing. So did they clean up all that dirt? And whoa, Nelly, we found brick under here. That's kind of what I suspect. But again, conjecture. Here's City Hall. Looks like it's been brutalist facaded or covered in stucco, or what I like to call schmutz. That's what I call schmutz, is they take the brick and they smear some kind of thin set on it. Very hard to tell. Definitely looks like a brutalized old building. Anyway, there's your grain elevators and whatnot. I mean, this road is ridiculous, man. And look how wide it is. Wide enough for people to be able to diagonal park, and you could still have two directions of traffic. And big wide-ass sidewalks. that have street lights, and then you could still have people walking shoulder to shoulder get by each other. Well, I'm not saying that it's necessarily would be the original road. I'm just saying that it's the road that was beneath the dirt road, because this is still on a huge slant. Could this be pre the most recent reset, but still post? My theory, and many of us share, is that they're these sort of these cyclical catastrophes, and they vary in degrees of severity. So this could have been a 200-year ago way to try to mitigate landsliding, mud flooding, flooding in general, and was forgotten about. But could the origins of some of these more robust, shall we say, buildings be older? Could they have come in, found some of these, fixed them up as best they could, experienced, some mud flooding, paved this, and then after the paving, some of these other smaller buildings could have come in? But again, I have no idea, man. I have no idea. I don't know. But that is a good point. I mean, this wouldn't be the original old world from the very, very beginning street if we're seeing mud flood windows peeking out, right? Because why would they do that? I mean, this is pretty significant sized building. This is one of the ones we saw in the pictures when there was still horse and buggy, even before the old jalopies that we saw. The old Ford Model T. Bet money this is the bank. Happy State Bank? Happy State Bank. Is Texas known as the Happy State? I never heard that one before. Cornucopia, a Horn of Plenty, or what have you. Phoenician shell looking like up there, and some kind of trident, and then maybe a wave. I don't know. There's a stacking of the brick. They see these little towns. We want to make up for not so many big buildings, so even the tiniest little guys, we're just going to go crazy with the stacking of the brick. There's that old Palace Theater. Well, and there you go. You kind of make do with what you've got when you kind of roll into one of these towns and you're trying to, you're putting lipstick on a pig, right? You're trying to dust the thing off and try to get it going. And you've claimed all of the buildings that you can salvage and fix up and renovate. Parcel off some of the land. Some of the buildings that you can't really fix up, well, you can reuse some of that brick to facade some of the other buildings, to patch in or repair some of the buildings, and to line the dang streets. By the way, I'm just going to jump back here for a second because that East Main, but the intersection is brick too, to a certain point. And then this street is brick. And then this street is brick. And this North 4th Street is brick. So, I mean, they're getting silly with it. They're getting silly with the brick. So, yeah, I mean, that's definitely something to think about. Of course, they like to paint their murals on the side. It hides in where they've probably blocked in or bricked in windows and doors and so on and so forth, right? There's a shack in the back. Bet money there's stairs going down into what they're now calling a basement. That old story, right? Katie's Quilt Box, 1908. Or was it 06? 06. Yeah. Looks like damage and some repair work here, maybe, potentially. Schmutz up here. Was this building taller? Was there another set of windows up here? And they just, put a dumbass flat roof on it and put tar and gravel and, repaired it with some of the salvaged brick. These are nice sidewalk pours so you can match the height of the door. Let's see what's going on back here. Can't really see much. Well, here's some of the entrance on the corner. I was going to say there's something weird about that brick, but no, it's just covered in lights. Christmas lights, maybe. Holiday celebratory illuminations. Shenanigans here and here and here, but only this floor. This lower, what now is a main floor. These are fine. But we have to do something here. And if that ain't a pain in the ass, I don't know what is. Looks like some damage or something going on up here too. Kind of interesting. Discoloration or... But see, even the side street, brick. All the way the hell down here too. All right. What else you got, Canadian Texas? Let's see, we're coming up on the courthouse. Check this out first. Historic Main Street Inn. Definitely has some unnecessary flair to it for such a little town. Some additions. There's another salon. I thought they said they had more saloons, not salons. Hello, County Courthouse. It's quite nice for such a small town. You got your portal and a nice big dome on there, big pediment. Up on a sort of a mound or a higher elevation with some kind of squat looking windows and a big huge hullabaloo here, but then just a little wooden door. Everything else is all fancy schmancy pee or pantsy, but the door is just kind of ho-hum. Again, stacking the brick and got some inlay in there. Quite nice, for just a little town, smaller county. I have no idea. WCTU. Texas Texas something county, Texas. No, I don't know. If you know, please share. Some nice little arch windows here. Yeah, who built Vaughn and Box says, who builds a brick road in the last 159 years? Yeah, it's, yeah, you might use pavers. Yeah, they did that on Stephen Avenue, right? Here in Calgary. They only allow vehicular traffic for certain times of day down certain portions of Stephen Avenue. This to me looks like a modern addition, but this to me looks older. My first clue is that they're trying to blur it or something. Cut it out. There we go. First United Methodist Church. This, you got to go up a whole bunch of stairs to get in. This looks like an old telephone switchboard building, or what they used to call those here in Calgary. We've looked at, I think, 3 of them here in Calgary, and a couple in other little towns in Alberta. They always look like this, kind of long and kind of squat with a peaked roof, portal, a door with some flanking windows. And, you know, this is where the telephone operators had their switchboards. Prior to that, it was the telegraph. Oh, and then they just take the pavement and right over top. They love to schmutz over the brick, whether it's the side of the building or it's on the road. Let's see what we can see. There's a couple of nice houses down here. Look at this. It's quite impressive. Just my small town Texas prairie mansion. Boy, howdy, look at this one. Now, this looks like it should be in the great state of Georgia. I said Georgia, boy. The Hillcrest. It says it right there. All right. It's a beauty. It's got you got a cannon? You got a cannon in the front yard. How'd you like to be this guy's neighbor? Right? How'd you like to live here? We don't like this guy because he's got a crappy house with a crappy garage. So we want to intimidate him to move him out of the neighborhood. So I'm just going to point my cannon at him. That's pretty nice. Pretty nice. What else? What else we got down here? It's another church. Yeah, that one's not so old, though, I don't think. All right. Let's keep poking around here. How's everybody doing in the chat, by the way? What do you think of this little town? It's funny, you know, the smallest towns always have the biggest surprises. More additions onto... Oh, that's interesting. Got here a gazebo that they're trying to blur out for some reason. Beautiful tree-lined streets. Holy! Hello. Big pillars or columns holding up that pediment. Big, huge arched window there. Wowee. Impressive. And then right across the street, this poor sap, right? Oh, the old school. Of course. Wow, look at this. And that's just the middle school. The most this town ever had was 3,500 people. Man, oh man. Look at this place. All this alternating brickwork. Then stack the brick into these little arches. Yeah, let's put in a portal with a somatic pattern in it. Stack the brick under this eave. Put all these inlays. Yeah, we'll put some fancy capitals on these columns. Jeez. Can we make this a more difficult build? for such a small town in the middle of nowhere, Texas. Again, up on a hill, and you gotta go up all these stairs. You go up all these stairs, and boom, right in the door. You know what I mean? There's no sort of, you go up, and then there's sort of a promenade, and then you can walk. No, you got to go up some stairs, and then boom, you're in. This place is nuts, man. Big, complex, big, big, big. Wow. Yeah, the place is a behemoth. What the heck's going on here? Yeah, well, absolutely. Jabberoo Joe saying them ranch hands need a good education. But I agree. Ms. Grandma, beautiful place. Wow. Yeah, right. Big wide streets, says Phil Henry. Even on these side streets that don't even have sidewalks, paved sidewalk, or maybe there are. They're just covered in leaves. Maybe, yeah. Some of these photos taken around the holiday season, so trees have lost their leaves, but yeah. Well, that's it was an asylum, and then it became a middle school. Nance saying Frankie found a jewel. Yeah, well, like I said, it's the smallest towns always have the biggest surprises. I don't know. I'm just wandering up and down this neighborhood, just looking at some of the houses here. Was this a former railroad baron or land barons? What would be the old-timey equivalent of a McMansion? Like around here, these would be called prairie mansions. Or like an estate home if it's in in an urban area. But if it's in a suburban area, it's a prairie mansion. All right, let's see what else we can see here. That courthouse is something else, though. No. Yeah, I'm. You know what? I'm just gonna. It's a cliche, man, but I'm following the brick road. It's brick for a reason. It's got to be where all the important stuff would have been, or used to be, or is. Yeah, get a bit more. Let's stack some two-tone brick on these. Just this little dinky little place. Why bother? Thanks for doing it, but why? It's down here. Canadian Visitor Center. No, I don't think that's old. That is, though. All right. Get back up to I know some of this is gripping. I mean, I'm just kind of poking around here for the first time, really, in any sort of depth. Yeah, it kind of looked like a plantation house. Yeah, I guess down in the south, that would be a plantation house. Didn't have much in the way of plantations up here. We had big, massive ranches and stuff, or big, huge farms, or even vineyards out east. I think they grew some tobacco out east, Ontario and Quebec. Big massive retaining wall here for some reason. Pretty nice. It's modern, more modern stuff. Oh, yeah. That's how you want your windows to be. I mean, I know it's Texas. You're not going to be getting, snow and ice shoving against there, but you're going to get rain. And you're going to get tornadoes. It's hard to put your storm shutters over during a tornado warning when, the bottom couple inches of your window is under the ground. You got to be careful with the weed whacker when you're trimming around after mowing the lawn, too, You break that window. You're cursing yourself. All right, I'm not really seeing much more down here. Let's go back up around the courthouse. I'm seeing a lot of what I would expect to see. Just a mix of different sized houses and, public buildings and schools. But there's so much here that I'm just like, hold on a minute. Let me just reorient myself here, get reorientated. Geez, from the air, I tell you, those brick roads just stick out like a sore thumb. There's a lot of big, huge, empty spaces around here too, Guy wonders, did there used to be some big extravagant thing like this over here or here? Especially in what appears to be the fancy brick road part of town. Let's drop the guy down here. See what we can see as we roll into town. Not much. Gas stations, chicken joints. Some kind of weird 1920s building, maybe. This probably used to be an old gas station, I bet you. It's built on a funny angle. Like a 20s or 30s, 1920s or 30s gas station. Oh. There's one that's been blocked in here. This one too, maybe, and then they left a few open. It's interesting. Yeah, see, I think these are built to emulate older buildings, but because it's Texas, they got to give it that sort of slightly sort of Spanish, especially this one, kind of a Spanish-y flair. What's with the blurring? There's nothing to blur here. There's nothing interesting. We might have something here, maybe. I don't know. Definitely had a lot of crap put on it, like this, corrugated metal junk and whatnot. And of course, it's covered in schmutz. So who knows? Doesn't look like there's much down here, though. Yeah, see, just a mix of small, little modest homes, a couple of mobile homes. Then you get these, big giant places. I guess maybe further on up the hill where the highfalutin folks live. You get the bigger places. Or east or west of a certain street, right? That old came from the wrong side of the tracks. I mean, you saw from the top view, it's not a very big place, anyways, this little city. I keep wanting to call it a town because, a couple thousand people. But it is a city. Yeah, this place has been painted. It's a nice old brick place, painted, and then they added this sort of a garbage on the front of it. Also looks like this eave comes down too low to me. It's not symmetrical with the top of the window compared to the rest. I think it looks like this should be about, up here. There's always something funny looking about these houses to me. What the heck's going on here? Yeah, so here's an empty lot. There was something here. Whoa, what the heck's going on here, man? That was weird. Turned into the Hulk there for a second. All right, looks like we're back on the main drag. Yeah, all right, so looks like that's that. I mean, short of spending another hour looking at every nook and cranny, but I mean, definitely a Wildcat Stadium. I mean, we saw the old middle school. I was kind of curious if there was an old high school. You know what I mean? I'm not really seeing anything that looks like an old high school. Maybe. Well, let's see. Somehow I doubt it, but it's about a bloody big. What the hell is this? It's like the storm drain comes spewing out, then they've got some water breaks, and then they just let it spill across South 5th Street here. And I guess it just runs down East Hobart Avenue. I don't know. That's really weird. I mean, it's obviously something from the 50s or 60s. That's very weird, is it not? I've never seen that before. Here, too. Need some drainage issues from something under this here hill, fellas? What's going on over here? Yeah, it just looks like a really crappy, built in 1977 school, But the topography around here is weird. There's something in behind it here. Okay, was that the old middle school we looked at? We'll have a look at it in a second. Might be, because there's the cat's paw. Cat's paw. Yeah, okay. So it's the middle school. So they built the high school. So they're still using this as the middle school, and they just built the high school attached to it. But how much you want to bet somewhere around here is the old high school? Or was. Yeah, your car's fast. We hear you. Jeez. Just having a quick glance if there's anything unusual. No. And also where the old rail line was or is. Their airport is literally right there. Wow. I mean, you could walk to their airport. I'm not goofing around here. You could literally, if you live here, and you're like, I got to fly to Amarillo, you could just walk to the airport. The hell with taking a cab. Okay, there's the rail line. So you'd think a lot of the old stuff would still be down along here, but not really. It's giving me a March 2008 photo. There we go. Yeah, see, there's nothing left down here. The oldest we might see is stuff from the 40s, you know? But this is where all the old warehouse district would have been back in the day. Whoa, where the hell did that take me? I mean, there's still tree-lined streets, but there's nothing here. There's absolutely nothing left. What in the hell is this thing doing to me? What are you doing, Goggle? But yeah, you have all these tree-lined streets, but there's nothing left in there at all. I mean, the most interesting stuff was this stuff here. I guess it's close enough to the railway, but not really that close. It's about 100 yards over here. So yeah, not much left, it looks like, in Canadian Texas. And the stuff that is left is pretty well maintained. I wish we could go back here on the goggle machine, you know, in the back alleys. All right, that's enough of that. That is enough of that. Where are we at here? 2 hours. All right, just over 2 hours. Good enough. Well, yeah, and that's the thing, right? Same thing is up here in Canada land, right? The U.S. Same thing in pretty much anywhere in the U.K. You know, but it was all that brick that was kind of, you know, all that brick was crazy to me. You know, all the streets. even still today, to maintain, that has got to be so costly for that little town. Like, where do they find it in their budget? Well, there's a bridge. Oh, Phil Henry says there's a bridge. Let's have a look real quick here. Right quick before we wrap it up. Canadian Texas. Let's see here. All right, there was that historic wagon bridge. Right. Let's see. Yep. With the Buffalo Rubbing Stones.
When you get an itch, then you do the twitch in bedrock. Twist.
It's kind of a crappy shot of it. Let's see. Really, give me 2008. Pfft. Thanks, Goggle. I mean, tell me nobody's been down there in 16 years. So yeah, it looks like an old steel or iron trestle bridge. That's the old wagon bridge, apparently. Well, yeah. I mean, you know, they'll show you a nice blurry photograph from 2008 or whatever that was. Thanks. Fantastic. All right, so we're getting ready to wind it down here. What are we going to look at real quick before we go? I'll leave this off here with a little bit of fun, you know, have a little bit of fun. Well, first I want to share this with you here real quick. So this building is in my neighborhood. This is on 10th Avenue and 12th Street Southwest, I believe. Anyway, it used to be an old hardware store, I believe. Anyways, they used to just have schmutz here, right? The brick comes down to this point, and there used to be just schmutz, where now you're seeing these big, what look like stones. But what he's actually doing, and they've been doing this for the last couple of weeks now, and this is just a real quick little video, but for the last couple of weeks, what they've been doing is putting on these facade stones. They're basically just thick, like couple-inch thick sandstone tiles, and they just back butter them with schmutz and stick it on the wall. Thing is, he's not done yet. I kind of caught this when he was, I don't know, 2/3 of the way through. So you see there how thick they are, you know, a couple inches thick. That's it. But he's not finished. He's still got a few rows to go. See there. Whoops. Dang it. Sorry. You can see there where in between the top of that facade stone tile and the bottom of the schmutz, you could see there's a course of brick there. But once he gets the stone tiles put up, it's just going to completely cover that over, and you wouldn't even know that there's brick there. Those windows are all different sizes. They progressively get smaller and smaller, by the way. That's convenient if somebody comes along and busts your windows. They're not all standardized size. See here, the schmutz, and he's applying the brick. He's got his sill applied there, so he can rest the sandstone. He's got a little bit of a barrier between the concrete sidewalk and the bottom of his tile. And then as we come around the corner, you'll see at the very bottom there, where that brownish, phony foundation schmutz is breaking away, there's brick underneath it. Yeah, that's right. Ms. Grandma says, they'd be like, oh shit, Frankie's onto us. We better cover up the bricks. But yeah, it's pretty blatant. Well, who pays for that is probably whoever owns the building, whoever owns that property. They're the ones that have decided to call in some contractor or somebody to, do some renovations. Maybe it's being renovated. It's under new ownership. But you can see when he's all said and done, you won't be able to really tell, especially as it ages a little bit and weathers a little bit. And then, hell, in 100, 150 years from now, somebody's going to be looking at that and scrutinizing it and wondering, are those stone blocks or are those facade tile stones? Anyway, let's end this thing here on a little bit of fun. What do you say? Let's visit our friend from Boston and see what he has to say here. I think that's probably a good idea.
Through some of these funny signs and stuff, please?
I love these, by the way. So, I don't know. I don't know who this guy is. I'm sorry. He's obviously from Boston. This is, if you can find out who he is, great. Let me know. Send me an email or comment or something down below or whatever, or in the chat, in the box right now. Because I'll send people his way. I'll shout him out and say, yeah, go and support this guy because he's hilarious. But here we go. It's our buddy from Boston. Ass fondue, I guess.
Ass fondue, anybody? Hood insulters? Frickin' dumb, idiot, stupid hood. Step right up, get your hot beef sundaes here. You heard me right, hot beef sundaes.
Doesn't that just sound delicious? Yikes.
Asso sauce. Oh, my asshole. Oh, my asshole's on fire.
Take it easy, kid. We're just having fun.
This one took me a minute. Jappy Agua. Nope, happy hour.
I never would have gotten that. I never in a million years would have gotten happy hour out of Jappy Aguar. But there you go.
Yep, happy hour. Listen, if you're going to sell on Facebook Marketplace, presentation's everything. Listen, if you're going to be on the couch in the background, at least sit up straight, put a smile on. Yeah, I'll take a...
On Facebook Marketplace. If you're going to sell stuff on Facebook Marketplace, market. Oh, this guy's the best. I love it. No offense to anybody from Boston. We don't get accents like that up here in Canada land, eh, buddy? So I love hearing it.
A couple of those sting beans. Oh, thanks. Ow, ow. Know you guys have heard of Christian Dior. How about Christine Dink? Lamp made with pulley. I have a couple of questions. First of all, why is Ozzy Osbourne selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace? Isn't he a millionaire? Oh, God, I need a jobby. Oh, yes, the socks are of very high quality.
Whoa,
Whoa, sir, slow down. This parking spot's reserved only for people that are gonna twerk on a stroller.
Twerk on a stroller.
You know what I mean? All right, we're having a good time.
Hot beef Sunday, yeah! Hot beef Sunday!
There it is.
Oh, I'm just dying in your arms tonight. It must have been something you said.
So there you go. There you go. There it is. There you go. And there it is. Kathy says I found him on Telegram. Yep. He's somewhere out there on Telegram. Yeah, I love that guy too. I could watch it for hours. Oh man. Good night, all, says Scott Pike. Good night, Scott. Thank you very much for shooting in. Really appreciate the support. Thank you very much. Ms. Grandma, you guys are a bunch of fun. Yeah, we try to do what we can. We try to have a little fun around here, right, Title? Title's in full agreement. Yeah, busting the gut, of course. You know what? I wish I knew. I wish I knew what his channel is. I don't know. Maybe perhaps Kathy has that information. I do not. But it is what it is, right? Always fun, Frankie Fingers. You get your Frankie Fingers over here. We like to have a good time over here, Frankie Fingers. So, Tommy, where have you been, huh? I've been watching New West Reset. Huh? Well, it's New West Reset. It's this thing on YouTube. He goes around, he does his boots on the ground thing. They'll tell you.
Say you care.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I think I remember you telling me that now. Sorry. Yeah, other people shared them. I don't know. Let me just go on the goggle machine here. I'm just going to type in Boston Guy Telegram. YouTube. No, not YouTube. Boston Guy. No, I'm not seeing nothing. Boston Guy TikTok. Boston Accent Guy. Is that him? Let's see. No, it's not him. TikTok guy from Boston. Nope, it's not him either. Tommy Guarino. No. I'm not seeing nothing. I'm sure he's out there somewhere. I don't know. But there you go. We'll figure it out. We'll find out. We'll figure it out. We'll find out. Morgan says it's happy hour, everyone. All right, there you go. So I think that is going to do it. So once again, thank you very much, everyone, for joining me here and winding down your weekend on the Sunday fun day with yours truly, Frankie, New West Reset, and New West Reset Live, episode 83, Canadian, Texas. It was very interesting. I thought it was just, again, because I'm a Canadian. I had no idea. I'm sure with a deeper dive, there's even more shenanigans, but we already found some shenanigans down there in Canadian, Texas. So once again, thank you to everybody in the box. Thanks for joining me. Links below for everything. Reminder, Wednesday, vintage footage coming up. Got one more Edmonton video coming up Friday, boots on the ground, looking at the Hotel McDonald. Railroad company built these castles that they like to call hotels. Edmonton's got one. Going to be looking at that on Friday. Then we'll see you back here next Sunday. Guess what? You're probably going to get a double header from a fella on this Sunday, this coming Sunday, the 22nd. Knuckleheads episode, and then, of course, my live show. So again, links for everything below. Thank you very much. Thanks to everybody tuning in after the fact. Thanks to everybody in the box. That is going to seal the deal here tonight for Frankie, New West Reset. Really appreciate all your support. And until the next one, take care out there, everyone, and have yourselves a good one. All right? Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
It's a mystery. It's a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma.